we got our Texans yesterday, who are 3-1, so we can't complain because we've seen a lot worse. But there's a lot of stuff to clean up. You know, you haven't faced the gauntlet of quarterbacks that you're going to be facing. You haven't faced the Mahomes, or this week you got Josh Allen, although he didn't look like Josh Allen last night. You got Lamar Jackson. You still got all the good quarterbacks. You haven't faced the number
Don't
one
say Aaron
seed.
Rodgers. Don't say Aaron Rodgers. The Texans are substantially
yesterday.
better right now than the Jets.
Denver had a plan, though. Well, Denver had a pass rush. What I didn't see Will Anderson Jr. or Danielle Hunter the whole game. Where were they?
The Texans have three big concerns right now. Number one, the number one concern to me is that the pass rush off the edge, what was supposed to be this great rush off the edge, has not materialized this year. Number two, the secondary continues to let people get a step on them deep, and there's so many would-be touchdowns they would have given up this year that would have beat them. They'd be 1-3. They'd be sitting here probably 1-3.
If Trevor Lawrence hits Kirk, they lose that game.
Yeah, I mean, and he had more than a step on the defender. Yeah. And then finally, and we had one where Kamari Lassiter earlier in the game was beat by Brian Thomas, which makes sense from a physical standpoint. One guy's much faster than the other. But then the other one is C.J. Stroud is not throwing quite as accurately. There's more overthrows and there's more missed.
The one in the end zone to Nico?
To Nico was one that's very uncharacteristic. There were a few uncharacteristic throws by C.J. Stroud. He has not been his best version of C.J. Stroud.
He threw for 345 yards and we're complaining.
I know, but he also had to. They only scored. They scored the last 12 seconds of the game or whatever it was, and they only had 17 points headed up to that time.
5 straight punts in the second half. 5 straight punts. That's not something. That's something they gotta.
No.
They gotta sustain drives. They gotta come up with big catches. I'll tell you. And not only that. Well, how many times did he hit Diggs on a slant and it was either broken up or Diggs dropped it? And Nico, when he hit Nico on the slant, Nico secured it with a guy on his back. Mm-hmm. That's the difference.
Nico with a monster game, 151 yards
Nico's
receiving.
Huge.
He's got a great chance of leading the league in receiving this year.
He might be the best receiver in the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's up there. I don't know. Justin Jefferson's still awfully good, but Nico Collins is in the conversation, and it's his stats are just enormous. 12 catches, 151. He had a touchdown, 151, 155, one of them. And then, but you know, this is C.J. Stroud's first 300-yard game since week 10 of 2023. It's like his first 300-yard game in forever. Would you have ever guessed that?
No, I don't care about that. Don't we care about winning?
No, you do. It's an interesting statistic because I thought he would have had. It's his first one since week 12 against Jacksonville. Yeah. Which was a loss, by the way. But his first 300-yard passing game. Here's another one that's interesting. 8 touchdowns. He's had 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions in his first 20 games. C.J. Stroud has done it 5 times. That's tied with Pat Mahomes in his first 20, but it's behind Justin Herbert, who did it 6 times in his first 20 games. Justin Herbert's done it the most of any guy in his first 20 games. But C.J. Stroud, not surprisingly, is right there. But, you know, it is a win, and you'll take a win any way you can get it. But this Texans team is just off right now. It's just not it's not quite what we expected. Nothing has really fully clicked with the Texans.
When you're now, listen, there have been penalized teams that win, okay? The Raiders back in the early in the 80s, they were penalized most in the league, you know, and they got that mentality, that tough guy mentality, and they were a highly penalized team. It was different, though. They were personal foul. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a special announcement. I love Coors Light. I've always loved Coors Light, and I always will love Coors Light. I'm doing my job, keeping Texas chill. Are you? Are you doing your part? Do your part. Keep Texas chill. And, they asked the Texans have their personal fouls, too. Steven Sims was one of the dumbest plays I think I've ever seen, with a guy running by him and he puts up his elbow like he's in 6th grade. And it cost him because after that, Woods was catching punts. I don't know. Steven Sims might be the accountability that nobody seems to have had this football season. Steven Sims might, with the drop, the muff punt, and with the penalty, Steven Sims might be the guy that they say. Remember when Bill Parcells? Remember
different rules?
Emmett Smith. Yeah,
As Jimmy Johnson said it.
Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson. Yeah, he was like, who did they cut?
It was somebody fell asleep. It was a running back.
Yes.
It was a running back who fell asleep in the meeting room.
And they were like, well, you didn't do that to Emmett Smith. Yeah, well, Emmett Smith is much better than you are.
We have different rules.
Yeah, we got different
rules.
rules.
He said we have different rules for different players. Depends on how good you are or whatever. It's like, wow, you just said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
I know. Steven Sims could be held to an accountability standard today. I don't know that anyone else will. It was another disgraceful penalty performance by the Texans offensive line. And I know there's some people who think the Texans were getting picked on, some Texans fans. Listen, if you're getting picked on, then you're doing stuff. This is crazy. You had Kenyon Green with 3 penalties. Shaq had 2 that I counted. Laramie Tunsil, a couple holds. It was, and the fans were booing loudly. They were booing these penalties. It is a major issue for the team, is that they are getting booed by the fans because the fans know this is killing the Texans, and it's just irritating. After last week, we addressed it. We got it fixed. You didn't get it fixed. You have, a lack of accountability, it would seem. I don't know what the accountability. I had people reach out. If this offensive line coach isn't fired by the end of the day, I got news for you. This is one of those things where I don't know what an offensive line coach can do. Now, you can teach guys technique-wise to keep your hands inside, not to hold. But what Laramie was making a decision, and one of them I don't really blame him. When your quarterback scrambles to the left, like outside of the pocket, you've got your guy locked in with your hands, and the quarterback scrambles and he all of a sudden changes his course of action. Then that you get holding calls on that. That one, you can't know where your quarterback is going, so you don't just let go. I don't really blame him for one of the holdings. For another one, I thought it was lazy, but they just weren't good. The offensive line is just not playing to the standards they did in the first game. It hasn't been close.
CJ's running for his life again, and had to, I don't know how many times he had to escape the pocket, step up. He had to. It's just not good. And the announcer made a pretty good point. He said, "What's he wearing those red gloves for with white jerseys on the other team?" That's
Tiki Barber. Tiki's done a good job with these games. I think Tiki actually has got some he's fairly insightful. I think Tiki Barber, is he and McCourty are the color commentators. You may notice a lot of these broadcasts have 2 color commentators now, two players in there. But I thought that was a good point. I've heard it made before. You can wear the white gloves with white jerseys. You can wear, if you have a chance, you wear the same color. It's usually just white as the other, but not if your drip game. If you want your drip game to be good, you got to wear. You got to show out
nice
with the red.
Too?
Nah, you got to show out with the red.
You saw that
though.
Man? He got that athlete face mask on. Kenyon Green has an athlete's face mask on. Titus Howard. Look at those guys. They ain't just gonna go and wear some white gloves.
No, they're not.
Red.
They're not trying to.
Got to accent the home blues, the red.
Yeah, we ain't gooning. This isn't going to be a gooned out squad. We're trying to. This is a drippy.
Squad.
This is a lifestyle squad, brother. You better get on board.
You see
Dell,
tired of this. I'm tired of you trying to talk bad about people's glove choice.
Dell, you looked different a little while ago. I was like, hey, Dell.
Yeah, the whole
I
point
haven't been
was
gone that long. You look different.
Yeah, the whole point was to have Alan, our intern, sit here while I had to go to the restroom. But I wanted you to see him, so you wouldn't ask for something that couldn't be done because he doesn't know what to do. So I had him sit down. And you could see him. That's all, just in case.
Oh, I thought it was. I'm sorry. I thought it was you. I thought it was Freaky Monday.
No, I just had him in here just in case one of you guys decided to curse, so you could hit the button. That's all.
Oh, okay.
That's all. You told him if they curse, hit that button.
Yeah. And then sit down so he didn't go, hey, Joe, play this.
He comes in every day, so he knows us.
And he knows you're fully capable of saying something.
Yeah, he knows the show has got that potential.
Well, but he did. He was a baby Dell, though, that everybody hugged at the party, right?
No, he didn't. No, he's an intern. I know we
didn't come to the party.
We had an intern. I think we did have an intern show up for a little bit, but
really?
Alan was not that intern.
No.
This intern was, I don't know how old Alan is, but this intern was old enough to get a drink.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. 713-780-3776. If you've got thoughts on the Astros, you got thoughts on the Texans. We're just getting it started. We got what did you learn this weekend in one sentence that's going to be coming your way in a half hour right here on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. So we're just getting going on this. A wonderful week for sports here in the city of Houston.